Have you ever noticed how love can look like contradiction? One moment it's clear, the next it's buried in silence. He says nothing, but something about him still reaches you. That's because the deepest love doesn't always speak. It acts, quietly, without conscious intent. It's not in the texts or grand declarations. It's in the way his soul reacts before he can name what he feels. Carl Jung spent his life studying the unseen, the invisible pull between souls, the language of emotions that bypasses logic. And if a man is truly in love, even without knowing it, that truth leaks out. Not through what he says, but through what shifts in him when you're near. That man who confuses you with distance, then suddenly draws close, might be far more in love than even he realizes. Because love, real love, doesn't follow scripts. It sneaks in dreams, in glances he thinks you didn't catch, in subtle changes only you seem to notice. As Jung wrote, "What we don't make conscious appears in our lives as fate." That includes love. So if he hasn't realized it yet, his unconscious already has. And that unconscious shows its hand in ways most people miss. This won't be about cliches. I won't tell you to wait for a text or a promise. We're going deeper into the symbols of the soul, where the real signs live. And I need you to really watch, because we often overlook the most important truths while waiting for the loud ones. True love isn't loud. It doesn't come from effort or logic. It arrives like a wave, slowly breaking down who he thought he was. And if you're seeing it, even faintly, there's something real underneath. If a man is being moved by you, truly moved, he might not understand it, but it will show. And it begins with attention, not the kind that seeks praise, not the charming, calculated kind, but the kind that sees what others miss. He'll notice how your voice shifts even when you say, "I'm fine." He'll catch the change in your hair, the flicker in your mood. This isn't habit, it's emotional resonance. You've stirred something in him, and that something is speaking in ways he doesn't control. You'll feel it in the way he remembers small things. Mentions you when no one asked. Asks about things you didn't think he noticed. It's not routine. It's his unconscious reaching for you again and again. This isn't neediness, it's presence. You've become part of his internal landscape, and his soul, before his mind, is reacting to you. And then comes the shift in behavior. He might be confident with others, but clumsy with you. He might fumble, pause, soften. Because love disarms. It strips away performance. And with you, he's suddenly real. If he's quieter around you, but not awkward, just still, it means he feels something that doesn't need to be spoken. Jung believed the soul protects what it loves. So if he checks on you, make sure you're warm, fed, safe. It's not ego. It's not control. It's devotion. Silent, instinctive devotion. He might not say you're important, but if he cares for you without asking for anything in return, you've already entered his inner world, even if he doesn't know it yet. Don't mistake silence for absence. What's happening inside him may be far bigger than what you can see. And then there are signs that don't need explanation, like the way he breathes when you enter a room. He might not speak, but his energy will shift. His silence will carry weight. The kind of silence that says, "I feel you." Watch his eyes when someone mentions your name. If you're praised, see how he lights up. If you're criticized, watch how he flinches. The soul defends what it loves long before the mind catches up. And then there's effort, not grand, but quiet. Showing up, listening, remembering something you said, apologizing when he falls short. That kind of effort doesn't come from duty. It comes from emotion. Because someone who doesn't care doesn't try. But someone who loves, even unconsciously, begins rearranging his world for you. Not for reward, not for show, just because you've become part of it. And maybe the most powerful sign of all, he starts to change when you're not around. You're not in the room. He's not performing. But something in his routine shifts. He's more distracted, more thoughtful. Something has stirred, and it doesn't settle. Because now, you live inside him, not as a fantasy, as a presence. You've become, as Jung described, an internal figure, a symbol that touches his psyche. You didn't plan it. He didn't plan it. But you're there. He might not call it love, but his soul already knows. So don't be fooled by appearances. Many men stay quiet, not because they feel nothing, but because they can't yet find the words for what they do feel. But if you look closely, you'll see it. He's already made a choice, even if he hasn't said it yet. If you felt any of this, trust what you've seen. Stay with me. What comes next goes even deeper. When a man is truly moved by love, a quiet transformation begins. It's not immediate, it's not loud, but it rewires him. Maybe he once avoided closeness. Maybe he guarded his independence like armor. But now, something's shifting, and he doesn't even know why. You haven't asked him to change, but something in your presence unsettles his patterns. Thinking only of himself isn't enough anymore. And it's not sacrifice, it's instinct. He starts making space for you, space in his thoughts, space in his heart. Emotional room that was previously closed is now open without permission. If he starts sharing pieces of himself, the ones he's never shown before, it's not small, not surface-level details, but real fragments. His failures, regrets, secret dreams, the messy parts, the ones he usually hides. He's not doing it to impress you. He's doing it because for the first time, he feels safe. When a man trusts you enough to reveal his cracks, it's no longer about winning you. It's about surrender. And that surrender? That is the clearest signal his soul is opening. Jung said the soul needs a mirror to know itself. And sometimes, without realizing it, you become that mirror. He looks at you and begins to see himself differently. Watch how he responds to your emotions. Not everyone can handle emotional depth. Some people shut down. But a man truly connected to you begins to move with your moods without being told. He might not say much, but his energy will shift when yours does. If you're sad, something in him will quiet. If you're joyful, he'll glow without trying. Even if he doesn't have the right words, he'll show up. Hesitantly, imperfectly, but he'll show up. That desire to be with you through emotion, not just during good times, is unconscious love in its rawest form. But maybe the clearest signal isn't what happens in your presence, it's what happens in your absence. When he talks about you without realizing it. When he saves stories, just to tell you later. When something happens, and you're the first person he wants to tell. That's not performance. That's soul memory. Because the truest kind of love doesn't just show up in moments. It lingers. It weaves itself into the quiet, unshared hours. And if you live in his thoughts when you're nowhere near, then he's far more in love than he realizes. This isn't about analyzing behavior. It's about learning to listen with your heart. Love doesn't always come with explanations. Sometimes it arrives in symbols, gestures, shifts, small moments that speak louder than words ever could. And then there's a moment when something deeper kicks in. He starts to need your presence, not as dependency, not to fill a void, but because something in his system has recalibrated, and you're now part of his balance. He might not text constantly. He might not say, "I miss you" outright. But his absence from you will feel like restlessness. His returns will feel timed, like he shows up just before you begin to drift. It's not manipulation. its unconscious pull. Jung taught that the unconscious isn't bound by reason. It moves through time, memory, and emotion. And when something takes root there, it grows on its own. Watch how he includes you in decisions. Not because he's trying to win you, but because your voice has become part of his inner compass. Maybe he asks what you think about his plans. Maybe he opens up about uncertainties. He's not seeking validation. He's revealing something rare, that your presence is guiding him, not as an advisor, but as a witness to who he's becoming. He's not trying to impress you. He's aligning with you. When a man shares his fears, his doubts, his dreams, and doesn't expect you to fix them, he just wants you to see him, that's when love is real. Because real love isn't about perfection. It's about being seen without fear. That kind of trust is sacred. And what makes it even more powerful is this. He starts imagining a future, and you're already in it. He doesn't say, "Let's plan a life." He says, "Someday, I want to visit that place." But in his tone, in his eyes, you're already there beside him. That's the unconscious revealing its truth. You're not a temporary presence. You're a part of his internal world, the one he doesn't advertise. And he's not placing you there. His soul already has. So you don't need to push. You don't need to chase clarity. Because when love is real, it reveals itself, even in silence. If you're seeing these signs, if his attention, energy, and care are leaning toward you without effort, then something profound is unfolding, even if he doesn't yet know how to name it. Let that sink in. Stay with me. The next part will take us even deeper into the silent signs that love is no longer hidden. When a man begins to look at you like you're something he doesn't want to lose, everything changes. It's not louder affection or more frequent messages. It's in the way his soul begins to reorganize his life around you, not out of duty, but out of quiet need. You'll notice it when he starts prioritizing you, without saying it. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe life is pulling him in all directions. But still, he shows up, not for attention, not for validation, but because something inside him needs to. Because being near you, even in silence, brings him peace. And peace is the most overlooked emotion in love. We talk about passion, desire, butterflies. But true love, the kind that settles in the unconscious, brings a deeper quiet, a safety. It's what Jung recognized as a transformative force, where love isn't about being perfect, but about being accepted in imperfection. If he feels that with you, if he lets his guard down and stops performing, you'll see it. He starts calling you home, not in words, but in presence. And then something else happens. He begins to align with you, slowly, subtly. He takes interest in your passions, laughs at things that light you up. Not because he's losing himself, but because he's discovering beauty and sharing what once was his alone. This isn't coincidence. Jung spoke of soul resonance, where the boundaries between two inner worlds begin to blur. That's when real intimacy is born. Not just attraction, not just desire, but that unspoken belonging, the sense that you've always been part of each other's path, even before you met. Watch how he defends you when you're not there, not for credit, not as a gesture, but instinctively. Someone criticizes you? He shifts. Someone mocks something you love. He pushes back, softly but firmly, because to him, defending you is defending something sacred, something that has quietly become part of what he loves. This kind of love doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't demand. It doesn't announce itself. It simply protects. So if he changes his routine without noticing, if he instinctively shields you in small ways, if he starts thinking of you when making decisions, then you are not just passing through his life. You've entered a deeper place, a place where love is no longer a performance, but a truth that's living in him, even if he can't yet explain why. And that is where the purest love lives, in the unconscious, beyond roles, beyond expectations, beyond ego. Love that hasn't been shaped by fear or past wounds. Love that simply is, because the deepest sign is still to come. And then it all comes together. All the small signs, all the moments you doubted, all the times you felt something but couldn't name it. You look back and realize this man has changed, not in dramatic ways, but in subtle, powerful shifts that speak louder than any words ever could. Because true love doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives in consistency, in presence, in gestures no one sees. And when a man is more in love than he knows, his soul already made a choice long before his mind could catch up. Jung said the unconscious doesn't lie. And when you watch how he moves, how he speaks your name, how he softens when you're near, you see that truth, even if he doesn't. If you felt this, if something in your body whispered yes as you listened, trust it. That's not delusion. That's intuition, recognizing what the mind isn't ready to explain. And maybe that's all you needed, a quiet confirmation that what you feel isn't crazy. That love, when real, doesn't need permission to begin. So if this touched you, stay close to that knowing. Because what your soul sees before the world does is rarely wrong. If these words echoed something inside you, you're not alone. Let this message find someone else who needs it. Share gently. Leave a trace. Comment if it spoke to your experience, so others know they're not the only ones feeling this kind of quiet, soul-deep love. I'll see you in the next one. But for now, just hold this truth. If he's doing these things, he's far more in love with you than he knows.